What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Waters. Welcome to No Life to Metal. Going to be doing my UFO 7-inch vinyl collection video today. This one was requested by several people, but one in particular, Greg the Egg, who is a YouTuber who does a channel called Blackmore Rules. Greg's a buddy of mine, lives in Canada, and he's requested this one, so I'm doing this one for him and for the other few people that have requested it. But I don't have a huge collection of UFO singles, but I do have quite a few. And this is just 7-inch. I have a few 12-inch singles as well, but I'm going to stick to the 7-inch singles for this video. I've got a lot of videos coming up planned. I got another big 7-inch video update, another big vinyl update video. I'm going to be doing a kind of a rock haul video where it's got some stuff that I've been collecting over the, patches and pins and cassette tapes and just stuff, that I collect that I'm going to be doing a video of. Also going to be doing a video for some of my favorite albums of thrash metal albums that have come out in the last 21 years, so 2000 till now, and yeah, that's just a few of the things I have planned for the near future. But I'm going to start with this one. So UFO, first wave of British heavy metal band. If you don't know them, you're probably not a big fan of heavy metal or hard rock, but formed in, I think it was 1967 by vocalist Phil Mogg and Mick Bolton, the guitar player, who put out a few albums. There was UFO 1 and 2 and a live album, and it was a different style. They weren't really the heavy metal sound yet. They were more of a, they were calling themselves, I believe, space rock. And this album, this single actually comes from that time period. So, well, I don't know, this has got to be like 69, 70. And this is Come On Everybody and Timothy. This is a Japanese pressing of that particular single on the Stateside label. I love the 70s era UFO stuff, and when I first got into UFO back in the late 70s, when I was literally a kid, I picked up around, Lights Out and Obsessions. Those were the albums that I kind of picked up when I was, a grade school kid back then, and I kind of went backwards into their catalog, and eventually picked up, I'm pretty sure it was UFO Live, and I was like, wow, this is very different. It took me a little while to get into those first few albums because it was just not what I was expecting. I was used to the Shanker era stuff. But nowadays, I actually love these albums. Like I said, I've been a fan since I was a kid. So very different sound. Space rock, kind of trippy, psychedelic kind of stuff. Straightforward, rock and roll at times. Come On Everybody to me is kind of more of a straightforward, rock and roll song. They probably could throw that into a set today and rock it up a bit and give it a little more of a bite, and people wouldn't be none the wiser. But regardless, nice little 7-inch single for that one. I've got one more from that same era. Those singles don't show up very often. This is Prince Kazuka and the Coming of Prince Kazuka, and I believe this is a German pressing. So again, this is, Mick Bolton era. This is before Shanker came in and pushed them into a more straightforward heavy metal direction. So the only two singles I have from that early era. Now we get into the, like I said, the 70s stuff. They've got a lot of singles, and I've got several, but there's no way I even have close to all of them. I mean, I've been collecting UFO singles for years. I've probably got 50 or 60 Aerosmith singles, and I don't have them all. So UFO's been around longer than Aerosmith, and I definitely don't have all their singles. But so we have here is Too Hot to Handle, backed with Electric Phase on the Chrysalis label. And of course, this is Michael Shanker era, so this is just fantastic. First wave of British heavy metal sound, right along the lines of, Sabbath and Purple and Zeppelin and Budgie and Rainbow and all those bands that were making a big racket back then. But unusual to find singles or albums on colored vinyl back then. It was not like it is today where everything's pressed on colored vinyl. But this is a cool little single from what's the year on this one? I think it's like 77. Is that what it is? Yeah, 77. So I'm trying to remember which album that would have been on. I gotta look real quick because I can't remember. 77 would have been, I'm thinking it was just before, nope, it is Lights Out. So yeah, it's from the Lights Out album. So Too Hot to Handle from the Lights Out album. Speaking of Lights Out, there we go. That's my monitor, and it gives a nasty glow when I'm recording. So, all right, so I have a couple different versions of that one. This is actually a I think it was the dance single from that album. But yeah, I've got a couple of different versions. I've got a black vinyl version and a red vinyl version. So this one's been... I played this one a few times. This one I played once and sealed it up, and I haven't played it again since. So more of a collector's item than anything else. All right, next up we've got also from 1977. This is Try Me, backed with Getting Ready. This is a U.S. Single on the Chrysalis label. UFO never were quite as popular in the U.S. as they were in Europe. They didn't really even have a hit until, I think, Lights Out came out, what, 1970? Yeah, 1977, I believe, was Lights Out. And that song was, you know, barely blipped on the charts here that I'm aware of. But I did hear it on the radio back then. Then back in, like, the early 80s, used to hear it on shows like Metal Shop all the time, you know, songs like Lights Out and whatnot. But in any case, yeah, this is a U.S. pressing, Getting Ready and Try Me from 77. And this is moving on to the Obsessions album, so you can see I got a big gap here. I mean, I went from the early stuff all the way to 77, so there's a bunch of stuff that's missing here. But this is from the Obsessions album. Again, this is still Shanker. This is 1978. I believe this is on a colored vinyl too. I believe it's also red. It is. So there you go. And I believe this is also a German single. Taken from the Phenomena, Rock Bottom, taken from the Phenomena album, and Only You Can Rock Me and Cherry, taken from Obsession. And you can get the exclusive Frisbee offer here. I don't know, I don't have the Frisbee, so. Coming also from the Obsessions album, this is a promo single for Cherry. As you can see, it's a white label promo. Same song, both sides. I believe one is stereo, one is mono. But, again, anything UFO, I jump on it. Sticking with one of the greatest live albums of all time, Strangers in the Night. This is a 7-inch, 3-song live EP from that era. Dr. Doctor, backed with On With the Action and Try Me. Taken from the new double live album, Strangers in the Night. So this is I mean, I've always called these things 45s, but this is actually a 33 1/3 RPM 7-inch EP. Okay, so that's what I have from the Shanker era. Like I said, big gap, so I'm still looking for a lot more UFO stuff. They just don't show up in the United States like they do, you know, over in Europe. But like I said, I'm keeping my eyes open for stuff. So now we're moving on to the next era, which is Shanker Left, formed Michael Shanker Group. I have Shanker singles too I can show at some point, but sticking with UFO. Went on to the Paul Chapman era. A lot of people don't like the band after Shanker Left. I'm of a very different opinion. I personally think that No Place to Run was a fantastic album. So this would have been, what, 1980 or so? This was when the new wave of British heavy metal was coming out, and these guys kind of rode right along with that, continuing with the heavier sound. This is Youngblood, backed with, I think it's a live version of Lights Out on here. But yeah, Lights Out is the B-side. Great photo of Pete Way, bassist Pete Way, who died a few years ago. I think this might be a color vinyl too. I can't remember. Let's see. Yeah, another red vinyl on Chrysalis. This next single you're going to see in another video because I just received this one, so it's going to be an 7-inch update video. But I wanted to include it here as well. So this is from the Wild, Willing, and the Innocent album. This is Couldnt Get Ready and Hot and Ready, recorded live at the Reading Festival 1980. So these guys were still really relevant in the early 80s, still jamming hard, still playing all the big festivals, still, you know, packing houses, and a lot of the new wave British heavy metal bands were opening up for these guys, and, you know, had inspired a lot of those bands that were coming out. I mean, including Iron Maiden, who were a huge fan of UFO, and have done a few UFO covers themselves. But again, this is on the Chrysalis label. I believe this is a UK pressing. I think this is a fantastic album. Again, some people don't like it because it's not Shanker. From the same album, Wild, Willing, and Innocent, this is Lonely Heart, backed with Long Gone. And this is a UK pressing with the original patch inside of it. I've had several of these, and I managed to score the patch a couple times. I did pick up a copy of this one time, and I actually sold the patch onto my my vest that I used to wear on stage with Ultimatum back in the day. So I actually have 2 copies of this. This one doesn't have the patch. This one does have the patch. So if I ever decide to pull it off, I'll put the patch right back on here. But I'm also thinking that these are 2 different color vinyls. Let me see. It's been a while since I've opened these up. I literally just pulled these out. Didn't do any studying or anything. I just pulled these out and started chatting about them. So there you go. It's a clear vinyl. I knew one of them was a color vinyl. I also wanted to say about this song, Couldn't Get It Right. It's a great song. Really solid song from UFO. Check it out. I mean, it starts off kind of mellow, but it builds up to this just this great heavy rocker. So, all right, and I believe this one is black vinyl. So here's the other one without the patch. Again, I have the patch. It's just on my vest. Yeah, so this is the black vinyl version, and this is the first one I had with the patch in it. So, like I said, I keep it because it's two different versions of it. All right, now we get into the Mechanics album. Had to be at 81, I think maybe even 82. I don't know. They released 2 albums in the same year. One of them came out like in January, and the next one came out in the end of the year. So very rare to see that kind of stuff these days. But yeah, picture disc single for Mechanics. So we got Back Into My Life and The Writer, and then this one came off the same album. This is a Spanish pressing, so the titles are in English and Spanish. So you've got Deja K. Yeah, man, I don't speak Spanish. Deja K. Hueva, Let It Rain, and that is backed with. I'm not even gonna. I'll just butcher the Spanish, so you'll get love. So I know the word amor, but I can't pronounce the other word. So and You'll Get Love is actually a cool song, kind of epic, and it's like, I don't know, 7 or 8 minutes long. Great. Again, I love the Paul Chapman era of UFO, and again, maybe it's because I grew up with that era. I mean, the '80s I was a teenager, and I was heavily into all the new wave of British heavy metal bands, and I was discovering all this great music from Judas Priest and Budgie, and I already knew Sabbath and Rainbow and Purple and all those bands, but I was just discovering all this other music that I missed out, like Budgie and even Judas Priest. I mean, I discovered Judas Priest right around 1980, and they had been around a long time before that. They just weren't well known in the United States yet. Long story, but I'll just keep it to UFO for now. So there you go. That's a Spanish single for that one. Another one with a patch. This is When It's Time to Rock. This is off the Making Contact album. And as a young teenager, I always thought that was a great cover. You can kind of see the cover down there, really small. The operator with octopus arms. And it's Time to Rock with UFO. I love patches. I collect patches from bands, but when they come with the album, it has to stay with the album. So I have 2 different versions and 2 different pressings of that too. Here's another one. Again, this one does not have the patch. I've never owned the patch for this one, but it is 2 different pressings of the same album. Now we get into a totally different era of the band. I think Phil Mogg might have been the only original guy left. I don't even think Pete Way was in the band anymore when this album came out. This is from the Misdemeanor album. Now, this album was very poppy. They definitely were moving into a more commercial direction. Bands like Def Leppard were just getting huge success all over the world with a really clean, poppy sound. Even Iron Maiden, was getting a little cleaner. Judas Priest, those kind of bands at the time. And because this is 85, 86, 87, somewhere in that area. So they followed suit, and this is a very poppy album for them. Not the same UFO that I loved from before. I don't hate it, but it's definitely not one of those albums I run to and play right away. So I believe this was colored vinyl as well. Yeah, it's funny, a lot of the UFO singles are on red vinyl. Limited blood red vinyl. And then sticking with the same album, I always like the cover for this single. It kind of has that Americana look to it, which is odd being that they're a British band, but a lot of those British bands are trying to make it big in the United States, in the mid-'80s. Like I said, Def Leppard were just hugely successful, and bands like UFO and Saxon and whatnot were following suit. So this is a single for this time. I can't remember what the B-side was. The Chase. But you can see the kind of Americana-looking cover. Again, on the Chrysalis label. Oddly enough, this is not a U.S. pressing, but I believe this is either German or UK pressing. I think it's a UK pressing. So, yeah, not my favorite era of UFO at all, but when it comes to collecting some of my favorite bands, it doesn't matter. I mean, some of the greatest bands ever have albums that I don't love, and this just happens to be one from UFO that I don't love. But and then finally, this is a newer single. This is classic UFO tracks, Hot and Live. So you got Shoot Shoot, recorded live at the Record Plant in 1975. Hot and Ready, recorded live in Cleveland 1978. Chain Chains, recorded live in 1980 at the Marquee Club. And Long Gone, recorded at the Hammersmith Odeon, London 1983. So a 4-song EP that came out, I don't know, it's a few years ago. I can't remember now. 2000. Yeah, I can't read that itty bitty little 4-point type they got down there, but it's just probably like maybe 5 or 10 years max old. So love me some UFO. So there it is. That's my short and sweet UFO collection. Appreciate y'all watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know what I need. I know there's plenty of singles that I'm missing. So if you see any cool singles somewhere that you think I might be interested in, shoot me a text and let me know where you're seeing them at. So that's it. Appreciate y'all watching. God bless. Stay strong.